She's fine. Anyway, so if you don't add a value like 22, and if you don't understand that if you don't understand it, that you should start, then we have a beginning. So today is going to be a beginning for a lot of you to understand how 2 and 2 makes 22 and make a difference. And the first thing that you do about advertising is that advertising, though seems to be a logical marketing tool to extend your brand, its value, its personality, and therefore its consumer base, and all those little things that you learn in B school, they're just words. What is real advertising? Real advertising is advertising that lasts longer than it's supposed to. Real advertising is advertising that actually people carry away with them and remember for years after it's over. Why is that so? You guys yourselves in your personal experience will actually remember bits and pieces of advertising which you grew up with, which actually you carry with you even today. And when you see those commercials, or you mention those commercials, or you hear of them, you immediately turn and say, yes, I remember that commercial. And I really enjoyed it when I was young, or when I saw it. You know what the difference is? The difference is there are two kinds of advertising. One that appeals to the mind, which is logical, and one that only appeals to the heart, and secondly to the mind. Now when anything appeals to the heart, you know that it cannot be logical. And therefore it cannot be 2 and 2 equals to 4 because it doesn't move your heart. It doesn't make your heart go thump, 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 thump. It doesn't change your life. It doesn't reach out in the middle of the night and touch you with a gentle touch on your fevered brow and make you smile. It doesn't make you feel joy. It doesn't make you feel love. It doesn't make you feel sadness. It doesn't make you feel at all. You just think. And that also temporarily. Because television advertising today is so temporary that you see today, you've forgotten tomorrow morning, unless it touches you in the heart. And that's the only kind of advertising that actually makes a difference. Now, you can have, advertising needn't necessarily be products. Advertising can be ideas. Advertising can be lifestyle changes. Advertising can be politics. Advertising can be propaganda. Advertising can be nationalism. Advertising can be supporting your boys on the border. All this is a part of a larger scheme of which the reigning deity has been a man called Goebbels, whose claim to fame and his place in the sun has always been that if you tell a lie 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. So Goebbels managed to do that to an entire nation and make them believe that they were superior beings and they had to decimate the Jews because they were inferior beings. And that the inferior beings, through some manner of coercion, had actually collected all the money. So first, let's get our hands on the money, then let's knock these guys off so they don't come back and claim it back. And they did it almost systematically as a nation. And Goebbels managed to actually do it. And so Goebbels was the first guy to receive the Hall of Fame award for advertising. So even till today, advertising to a very large extent is the fine art of the half-truth. Because you never tell the full truth. Because that's detrimental to your brand, or your product, or your idea, or whatever else it is. So you always show the good side, you know, the side that Sharmila Tagore has a dimple. So if you ever shoot Sharmila Tagore, photographically or film-wise, you'll realize that whatever you make her do, somehow she makes it so that she turns her dimple side. And I found out, much to my dismay, after rehearsing with her 20 times over something, that at the last moment, she switched it on me. And I said, no ma'am, that's wrong continuity because you're supposed to be facing the other way. She says, no, I don't feel like it. And I realized that, you know, she was a great advertising exponent because she wanted to show her dimple, so she only showed her dimple. And she then pretended to be dyslexic and not know her left from her right. So that's advertising at its worst. But advertising at its best can be mind-changing. It can be nation-changing. It can change the lives of a hell of a lot of people out there who you never meet, who you never touch, who you never actually even know exist. But you can reach out there with your little finger, touch their lives, change their lives, just that indelible amount. Plant an idea into their hearts, which will then travel to their minds, and they will assimilate it into their systems and carry it with them however long they live. And that is really what it's all about. So, what is it that the beginning of change or making a difference is all about? Frankly, if you ask me, and I've thought about this a hell of a lot, it stumped me. It stumped me why I was irrational and everybody else was rational, and why I had to fight to prove that irrationality works better than rationality, and why instinct is a very important part of the decision-making process for selecting good and bad advertising. And that if everything is researched, then everything is wrong. Because research will never tell you what your instinct is telling you. Research will sometimes throw up feelings of that instinct, but if you choose to ignore it, you can very easily do so because there's no black and white in it. Your instincts are black and white. You know what is right, you know what is wrong. And you've grown up with that. So, the difference really is the capacity to dream. We all dream. Does anybody here not dream? Okay. The difference between, say, somebody like me and maybe people like you is, I dream throughout the day. Okay, whenever I'm bored or I don't want to be where I am like now, then I sort of, part of me goes into Never Never Land. And I start fantasizing about how the world should be. And it's perfect. And everybody is lovely. Okay? And then there are other people like you who spend all your day counting numbers, crunching them, looking at them in the computer and working out profit and loss. Now, profit and loss can't be 22 because that will screw the books up. Okay? But assessment of dreams has to be 22 because unless you dream a full color, technicolor dream, it's not a dream. Then it's a nightmare. Now, a lot of us have nightmares as well. Trust me, when you drink too much and you eat too much simultaneously and then you try and sleep late at night, you have nightmares. At least I do. That's the only time I have nightmares. I keep falling into this bottomless pit. I never reach the end, but I keep falling. But otherwise, during the day, when I'm in meetings, when I'm bored, when somebody's trying to teach me physics, you know, or I remember my professor in school saying 2-carboxy, 3-hydroxypropane. That was my keyword. That is to trigger off a switch off. Tadak, everything was tuck, 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 tuck. And I used to disappear into Never Never Land with all the women running in bikinis in slow motion. Like Baywatch. You know? So when I saw Baywatch, I said, hey, that's my dream. Which is why such a lot of you like Baywatch, because that's your dream too. Except you don't remember it. I do. And for you all, it's deja vu. You'll remember it when somebody else has dreamt it. So my job is to actually dream a universal dream where when I execute that dream into reality, which is on celluloid, by trying to make a brand story out of it, then when all of you guys see it, you say, but I also dreamt that dream. All this while you've forgotten it, by the way, because you're crunching numbers and desperately looking at profit and loss. So the dream has no place in that place. But the dream is there somewhere hanging around the back of your head. So when you allow yourself to remember that dream, you call it, what do you call it? Deja vu. Says, I've been there before. I've dreamt this dream. Somewhere along the line, there's a connect. And somewhere along the line, it stimulated my zones of pleasure. Money also stimulates your zones of pleasure, but you have to spend it to actually arrive at that. Just by counting it doesn't give you that much satisfaction. Okay, you have to actually go out there and live that dream and try and spend it to actually be able to get, in grasp with the dream. I want to live my dream. I want to go to Vegas. And I want to spend this money. How everybody has told me right from my childhood, this is a sin, gambling. So it's not gambling, it's business. What do you think business is? The business of business is taking risks. So blackjack is the same thing. It's a numbers game. It's of skill. What do you think horse racing is? You have to know the history of your horse and his jockey and the owner and how many times they farted and what color it did it in to be able to even predict what the odds are going to be. So, horse racing, in my opinion, is the best business model for any young MBA in the world. If they do not inculcate it in their curricula, they're being stupid. Because otherwise what we do is we produce business executives who are employable. They're not entrepreneurs. They don't dream the dream. They just facilitate other people's dreams. How many people from our B schools turn into entrepreneurs? 5%. 95% are little suited drones that work doggedly from 9 to 5 every day for somebody else. Sometimes for great white gods who then read them 10 or 7 commandments. PNG does that. PNG doesn't believe that Kalu MBAs actually can think for themselves. So they're thought for from abroad. And they're given 7 commandments which are enshrined in Braille and tattooed on their nether regions so they can read them in the dark with their fingertips. Any PNG people here? Because they can demonstrate the tattoo if you want. So, how do we unleash this great power of creating 2 and 2 and making 22? Allow yourself to remember your dreams. Allow yourself to lock into those dreams so that you can dream them with somebody else. Allow yourself for your brand stories to be parts of a dream. Allow yourself the pleasure of illogic instinct so that your dreams become glorious and not pedantic. Now, you'll say he's talking rubbish because they're talking at the top of his head. I'm actually going to demonstrate this to you. I'm not going to lie down, start snoring and dreaming, and that one projector comes out and starts projecting my dreams on top of me so that all you guys can look at it and say, that is pornographic, censored. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some films. There are a whole lot more out there. I know that they exist. But these are just some films that I put together very quickly because I found in them a level of imagination which defied logic. And they are extremely successful and extremely remembered films. All of you will remember the film when you see them. And you'll wonder why you remember these more than you remember others. You, as captains of industry, are supposed to inspire a whole lot of slightly smelly consumers into dreaming your dream, which is making lots of money for you, basically. But money doesn't come that easy. You have to have great imagination and great vision and great leadership to be able to do that. Right now, I find in my last 30 years or 40 years of being a professional, advertising human being, I found a singular lack of leadership. I found a singular lack of great vision. I've had to fight every single inch of the way with my clients most of the time to give them what I thought was my best work. Maybe it was a failure on my part where I couldn't